First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Yahweh is to this world to ignorantly cause God. Yahushai is to this world to ignorantly cause Jesus. Bahashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the other bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Today's video, I wanted to go into how social media is a spell, right? Is an incantation, okay? A drug, if you want to call it that. And ultimately is a tool, a device that these Edomites have used to control the masses. So, that's a big thing nowadays is the social media thing, right? And recently, something that's been blowing up is the shorts, right? Short form content, which is completely destroying the attention spans of the younger generation. Right here it is. You got a term for kids growing up on the devices. They're called iPad kids, and the reason is because they can't do anything without that iPad. Right? They have to wake up, look at the iPad. Right? In the conversation, they're on the iPad. Rather while they're eating, they got to be watching the video. Right? And all that goes back to Esau, Edom. Right? The wicked that are ruling the earth. And the reason it goes back to them is because they are the ones that are pushing that type of lifestyle. Right? Something that, I found that really opened my eyes when I started going down this rabbit hole is the fact that, Esau, Edom, the government, these companies, they hire people that their whole job is to study the human brain and to make these apps so addictive that you just stay on them perpetually. Right? You stay on them forever. That is their whole job, is to make you stay on the app longer. Right? Just think about that. The reason why you open your phone and it looks like a casino is because it stimulates your emotions. It stimulates your mind to be at a heightened state. That's right. The reason why you see all those colors, right? Because if you were to open up your phone and it was just black and white, right, there's actually a setting where you can make your phone black and white. Right? If you were to open up your phone and it looks just black and white, it's not going to give you that dopamine hit that you normally get. So, just the color is a massive effect. Right? There's a reason why even casinos, right? Even casinos have some type of psychological, elaborate, structure. Okay, they have the walls, rounded, no corners, right? Constantly, pouring that alcohol down your throat so you keep on gambling, right? Everything has a science. And when you look at, the reason why, the reason is to empty your pockets, right? Financial gain. Because these social media companies know that, and I put it right here in ChatGPT. The longer you spend the longer you spend time on that app, the more money they make, right? And the downside of that is that the people on those apps are real victims. Right? A lot of people that are scrolling, they don't even know why they're scrolling. They don't even know that they're being tricked. So, that's why it says in the scriptures that the serpent was wiser than the beasts of the field, right? Was more cunning, right? And that serpent was going into these Edomites, right? They're cunning, deceptive, and the way they operate is ultimately top tier when it comes to manipulation. So I did a whole lot of rambling there. Let's just get into some information. So I searched up what are the people called that make it so social media is addicting. It says they're usually called behavioral designers, attention engineers, or persuasive technology designers. These are the people who use psychology, neuroscience, and design tricks like variable rewards, endless scrolling, push notifications, etc. to make apps super hard to put down. A lot of them study fields like behavioral economics or human computer interaction. Some big names like Tristan Harris used to work in this field before speaking out about how manipulative it can be. Right, and that's the truth, is that it's straight manipulation. Right, and it ultimately, it goes back to the nature of Esau Edom, right, which is being the devil of this earth. Right, devil means to deceive. But I want to get this in Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 12. And this is all going into Babylon, right? When you read the top, it says lament for Babylon. So Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 12, It says, stand thou now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Right? And that's 100% correct. Right? When you look at America and how it was formed off the basis of witchcraft. Right? Hey, the government, the country we see today is ran on witchcraft. It's ran on wickedness. Right? And that whole social media thing is just another enchantment, right? And when you go into what that word enchantment, what it means, first let's pull it in the Hebrew. Enchantment, association, company, band, a magician, charmer, a spell, an incantation, right? And I searched up what that word incantation means, and it says a series of words said as a magic spell or a charm. The use of words as a magic spell, right? Which essentially it's enchantment. Let's get another definition. The state of being under a spell, right? And that's exactly, what those apps are, right? You're under a spell when you're scrolling, right? You could be there, scrolling, 1, 2, 3 hours, and you don't even realize, right? You only realize when somebody else distracts you and makes you get off the app, and you get out the app, and you're like, damn, what just happened, right? You're in a state where you're just going and going and going and going, right? What was happening is that, hey, you were under a spell, right? Your dopamine receptors were being hit continuously, and how do I say it? When you look at the body, you look at the brain, everything has a physical explanation, so these apps are made so that, hey, when you watch, let's say a little reel that you like, it's gonna make your dopamine receptor go off, right? And it's gonna feel good. And our brains are meant, to keep seeking that dopamine, keep seeking that good feeling, right? So what do they do with the algorithms? They'll make it so the next reel was just like the last one that you liked, right? And guess what? You're gonna like it again. And they're gonna keep sending you reels that you like, and keep sending, content similar to those reels, to keep you engaged and interested, right? And that's the thing about, social media is that, it feels good. You know, the entire time you're scrolling, you're finding videos that you like, right? If you like fishing, you'll find fishing videos. If you like space, you'll find space videos, and you're gonna keep on finding them. But at the end of the day, you're being manipulated. Okay, you're not there, at your own accord. Hey, at the end of the day, they got people making those apps to be like that, to keep you locked in. And it's just insane, man. It's insane. The state that this world has gone to. But it says, good question. So I asked, curious, how often does the average individual spend on the phone or scrolling shorts? And, when you think about it, all that time, let me read. It says, good question, and honestly, it's a little wild. On average, people spend about 3 to 5 hours per day on their phones, depending on the study and the country. Out of that, around 2 hours is typically just on social media apps like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Specifically for short form content like Shorts, Reels, and TikToks, younger users like teens and early 20s can spend easily 1 to 1.5 hours a day just scrolling these. And it adds up. Over a year, that's hundreds of hours, basically weeks of just scrolling tiny videos, right? And that's essentially, the devil stealing life from you, right? Because, hey, the entire time you're watching those videos, it's essentially a waste of life. You haven't done anything productive. So let's get this in 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? And this is one of the devices of Satan, right, is the social media. Okay, that's one of the ways that he keeps you locked into this beast system and ultimately controls the masses, right? News, social media, okay, phone, all that. But let's see what it says. Would you want me to pull a 2025 stats to see the most current numbers too? Let's put yes. And it's only going to get worse and worse as the generations go. Because, hey, the generation that is growing up in this today, is already locked in. So imagine their kids, right? They're going to be worse. And imagine how the technology is only going to get more advanced. So it says global average 6 hours and 40 minutes on the screen. The UST is nearly 9 hours. Insane. And I have this picture right here. This is by Eric Picker Gill, and he essentially, he got a bunch of photos of people, and he removed the phone. And this is exactly what we're doing. You know, this is exactly what we're doing every single day for a lot of us. For 6 hours. You're looking at your hand. And that's how much a Satan is in control of the world. Right here it is. They could be talking to each other, but hey, they're locked in. Right? Satan has them locked into that device. Right? Stealing their attention and ultimately their life. It's insane. So, hey, this is why Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua has to do something. Or this is why Yahushua has to come back, because hey, if he doesn't come back, and next thing you know, hey, this is going to be the Matrix. Right? They're going to be using us as battery, as battery packs. So, I'll leave it there. Hopefully this is edifying. Without to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone, the time of his truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.